Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. When people get desperate or even just needy, they end up willing to search to ever less sure things, even things that seem irrational. So they might go to see an astrologer, or they may turn to religion, or they may try drugs thinking that the answer is in hallucinogens or in meditation, um, which defies both common sense and most of the mainstream literature. And the main topic for me that I want to talk about is they turn to, too often, to pop psych nostrums, which basically says believe things like believe in yourself, you can be anything you want to be, change your mindset, have grit. It's all a matter if you try hard and you believe in yourself, and um, you can be fabulous. Of course, for me, most laughable is stand in a power pose. Unfortunately, most of the research that has been done on those were done by the person who came up with the concept, who had, if not a conscious bias, an unconscious bias toward having positive results. And unfortunately, most of them are not rigorous studies. They tend to be anecdotal or, uh, you know, one treatment, not a randomized design. And what happens is in almost all of them, including this, there was something called double NBAC, that you can improve your IQ by doing these exercises. I forgot what they were called. But they found that when independent researchers tried to validate them using rigorous scientific methods, let's just be kind and say they were certainly a lot less potent than the advocates would have us believe. And apart from everybody wants to make their career, and even if you're a professor at Harvard or Stanford or Yale or whatever, there's no guarantee of making it. And people want to succeed ever more. These are ambitious people who become professors, and some of them decide that their way is they want to become a pop figure. And it's just what do I want to say? The longer I've been at this game of trying to help people improve, and I've been at it over 30 years, and my PhD is from Berkeley in the evaluation of education and evaluation of innovation, the less I've come to trust studies. There's just too many sources of bias. And the more we need to trust common sense, in the same way as we don't need data to know that if you're getting an email from a Nigerian prince or that you won $1 million from some UK secret whatever, the chances are 1,000,000 to 1 against that being real. And it's the same true if somebody's saying stand in a power pose and you're going to have enduring greater ability to be efficacious. Sure, you may fool yourself temporarily into being more confident, but in some ways that has a huge negative side effect. You then can appear complacent, or maybe you won't work as hard. Because if you think that all these things are so potent, believe in yourself, reframe, power pose, have grit, have a growth mindset. It's too tempting. While the realities of even what the advocates would have you believe is it does require work, but it's especially the people who are most vulnerable to those kind of messages are in general a part of the public that is less intelligent, less driven, less emotionally together than the professor at these prestigious universities who, they often say, if it worked for me, it can work for you. Or if it worked for my Ivy League students, it can work for you. No. The most susceptible people to those kind of messages are people who aren't as efficacious. And so they need to be particularly wary, and yet they're particularly prone to such things as power poses, reframe yourself, you can be fabulous, have grit, have a growth mindset, rather than the much less pleasant, and makes me much less likable to say this, in the end, try moderately, try to get individualized instruction, get mentorships, and more foundationally, accept your basic self for who you are. We can refine but rarely remold. We can fine-tune our black and white TV set, but we can't turn it into a color set. And then once you've made that basic self-acceptance, and yes, of course, fine-tune, then simply find the places professionally and in your personal life where that natural self fits, rather than trying to believe your way into some much higher office or much more prestigious place per people to date or whatever. Self-acceptance is out of fashion. We tend to almost believe in not unlimited malleability, but enormous malleability. And the real truth, especially when we look at decades of science, for example, about that at least half of what we call intelligence, that is the ability to reason and problem solve quickly and complexly in a variety of contexts, is under genetic control. And while, of course, environment matters, if indeed intelligence is prerequisite, and we have fMRI studies, we have studies of twins raised apart, we have a ton of studies that are now identifying specific genes associated with this thing we call intelligence or reasoning. And if indeed intelligence is at least a prerequisite to environment mattering, I mean, if you are extremely mentally disabled and of an IQ of 50, no matter how enriched your environment, you're going to have limited ability to grow. In the same way as if you take a VW Beetle, you can tune it up very well, but it will never beat a Ferrari, even only a poorly tuned Ferrari. So ultimately, in the same way as I will never draw well, I will never fix things well. I recognize my limitations. I call the guy. I will. I'll stop there. Ultimately, I believe rather than succumbing to the quick fix of these nostrums, whether it be through astrology or meditation or psychedelic drugs or any drugs, or these pop psych nostrums, I would encourage you to use your common sense and make incremental improvements in yourself, but basically accept yourself and put yourself in the environments where you're likely to succeed, both professionally and personally. That is going to make me less popular. It's out of step with the zeitgeist. But the one thing you get from me is my honest opinion. Anyway, as usual, I welcome, if you like this video, I welcome your subscribing to my channel. I welcome your giving it a thumbs up and accept your thumbs down if you deem that's appropriate, your comments. And there's a share button down there. Of course, I welcome your sharing it with people as you see fit. But I certainly, in any event, appreciate your watching, and thank you. I am Marty Nemko.